Welcome to class, everyone. Today, we're diving into an absolute masterclass on electromagnetism, tracing those totally invisible forces that literally power our entire modern world. In today's explainer, we're going to demystify the core physics behind the electricity you use every single day. We are essentially going to make the invisible visible. So strap on your imaginary lab goggles, get those notebooks ready, and let's jump right in. Here is our roadmap for today. We're starting with a massive microscopic accident from the 19th century, moving on to how we map out these forces, looking at the rules of motion, and eventually scaling all the way up to the macro grid that's powering the room you're sitting in right now. Oh, and yes, pay attention, because there's absolutely a pop quiz at the end. All right, section 1, let's kick things off with a profoundly happy accident that genuinely changed human history. Now, what's so fascinating here is how a simple lab oopsie unlocked a fundamental truth of our universe. Picture this, it's 1820, and a scientist named Hans Christian Ørsted is just running an electric current through a basic metal wire. Right nearby, he happened to have a standard magnetic compass. Well, the second that current flowed, the compass needle deflected. Boom! Before that exact moment, the brightest scientific minds thought electricity and magnetism were two completely unrelated things. But this one tiny observation proved they are intimately linked. Moving electric charges literally create a magnetic field. Moving on to section 2. Since we obviously can't see these forces with the naked eye, how do we actually map out this hidden architecture? If we map the anatomy of a magnetic field surrounding a standard bar magnet, it helps to think of the field lines like currents in a flowing river. We have a golden rule in physics here. These field lines always emerge from the North Pole, and they merge back in at the South Pole, forming continuous closed loops. And here's the absolute most crucial part. They never, ever intersect. I mean, think about it. If they did cross, a compass placed right at that intersection would have to point in two different directions at the exact same time, which is physically impossible. Also, notice the spacing. Wherever those lines are super crowded together near the poles, that means you're dealing with a much stronger magnetic force. So a bar magnet is pretty easy to visualize, but what about the magnetic field around a straight electrically charged wire, like the one from Ørsted's accident? To figure out the direction of these invisible lines around a straight conductor, we use what's famously called the right-hand thumb rule. It's basically your universal key to unlocking the field. Okay, I want everyone participating here. Physically hold up your right hand right now. Try this with me. Pretend you're grabbing a wire. Step 1, point your thumb straight up in the direction the electric current is flowing. Step 2, wrap your fingers naturally around that imaginary wire. Now, step 3, look at your fingers. The exact direction your fingers are wrapping, that circular path, perfectly indicates the direction of the magnetic field lines. And remember, it gets weaker the further away you move from the wire. Those invisible, concentric circles just expand and fade. All right, section 3, rules of physical motion. Because drawing invisible lines is great and all, but actually creating physical, tangible movement is how we build machines. Enter French scientist André-Marie Ampère, who took Ørsted's discovery a massive step further. He proposed this beautiful concept of force and counterforce. He said, well, if an electric current exerts a force on a magnet, then physics demands that the magnet has to push back with an equal opposite physical force on the wire. If you suspend an aluminum rod in a magnetic field and shoot a current through it, it physically kicks the rod outward. And that physical kick is at its absolute maximum when the current and the magnetic field are perfectly at right angles to each other. Which brings us to what I like to call the holy trinity of electromagnetism, Fleming's left-hand rule. When we know the direction of the magnetic field and we know the direction of the current, this ingenious little rule perfectly predicts the resulting direction of that physical push we just talked about. Time for more interactive physics class. Get your left hands ready this time. Position your thumb, your forefinger, and your middle finger so they're all at right angles to each other, kind of like the X, Y, and Z axes on a 3D graph. Now point your forefinger in the direction of the magnetic field. Aim your middle finger in the direction of the electric current. Wherever your thumb naturally points, that reveals the direction of the physical force or motion. A lot of students remember this with the acronym FBI. F is force for the thumb, B is the B field for the forefinger, and I is current for the middle finger. Understanding how these three align is literally the foundational physics governing how every single electric motor on Earth uses power. Section 4, from micro to macro. Now that we've got the rules of the road down, let's scale things up and see how this builds from tiny wires to massive machines. Think about how simply changing the physical geometry of a piece of copper drastically changes the game. We start with a straight wire, giving us those perfect concentric circles. But bend that wire into a circular loop, and the field lines turn into these large arcs that straighten out right in the middle, and their strength actually adds up. Finally, if you wrap that wire into a tight cylinder, which we call a solenoid, the field completely mimics a standard bar magnet. The magnetic field inside that solenoid becomes incredibly uniform, parallel, and seriously strong. And this is where engineering genius kicks in. By placing a highly magnetically permeable material, like a soft iron core, directly inside that tightly coiled solenoid, we engineer an electromagnet. It's like taking a regular trickling garden hose and snapping a high-pressure nozzle onto it. You're concentrating the force. We create a hyper-powerful magnet that only exists as long as the electricity is flowing. The second you flip the switch off, poof, the magnetism vanishes. It's literally magnetism on demand. This engineered magnetism is exactly how electric motors harness power to create physical torque. By rapidly switching the current back and forth, we use Fleming's left-hand rule to make the electromagnet continuously push and pull against permanent magnets. That's what spins the motor inside your kitchen blender, your heavy-duty power drill, or even an electric car. But get this, it's not just heavy machinery. Medical science uses this exact same principle in reverse. Our human nerves carry tiny electric impulses, which produce their own microscopic magnetic fields. The heart and brain produce fields significant enough that doctors use them to map our internal anatomy via MRI machines. Section 5. Bringing it home, literally. How do we safely route this incredible, massive power into our living rooms without causing a disaster? Let's track the quick 3-step journey of domestic AC power. Step 1. It rolls in from the grid as main supply, standardized in many places at 220 volts, coming through overhead poles or underground cables. Step 2. Before it can power your TV, it has to pass through a main fuse and your electricity meter, so the power company can actually bill you. Step 3. It hits your home's distribution box. This acts like a super efficient traffic cop, routing that massive energy into distinct, manageable, separate circuits throughout your house. Inside the walls, we split the load. We use heavy-duty 15-amp circuits for power-hungry stuff like water heaters and standard 5-amp circuits for basic lighting. But here's the kicker. We wire our homes in parallel configurations. Wiring in parallel is absolutely crucial because it guarantees an equal 220-volt pressure to every single appliance. Plus, it gives you independent control. You can turn off the toaster without killing the fridge. Most importantly, it isolates faults. If one light bulb burns out in the bathroom, it doesn't break the chain and plunge your entire house into darkness. But look, things do go wrong. We face 2 primary electrical dangers at home. The first is overloading. This happens when you get a little too ambitious and plug 5 space heaters into a single daisy-chained power strip. The total current draw drastically exceeds what the physical copper wiring can safely handle. The second danger is short-circuiting. This is when the protective insulation gets damaged and the live and neutral wires physically touch each other. That abrupt contact drops electrical resistance to almost zero, causing a massive, incredibly dangerous spike in current. So to stop your house from literally catching fire during an overload or short circuit, we have physical safety nets. The first is the classic electric fuse. It relies on Joule heating. Basically, the fuse is a planned weak link. If the current spikes to a dangerous level, the tiny fuse wire gets incredibly hot and melts instantly, snapping the circuit and killing the power before the wires inside your walls can ignite. The second major safety net is earthing, and that one is there specifically to protect you from getting electrocuted. Which brings us to Section 6. You knew it was coming, pop quiz time. Let's see who was paying attention to our home safety architecture. Okay, here's the scenario. Imagine your refrigerator's metallic outer body accidentally becomes completely electrified because a live wire came loose inside. Which specific wire in your home setup serves as the ultimate safety valve to prevent you from getting a massive, dangerous shock the second you grab the handle? Think back to those escape routes. If you said the earth wire, give yourself an A+. Unlike the live or neutral wires, the earth wire contains absolutely zero current during normal operation. It just chills there. But in an emergency, it's your pressure release valve. It connects the metal casing of your appliance directly to a metal plate buried deep in the actual dirt outside your house. It provides a massive low-resistance path. The electricity always chooses that super easy path down into the ground, rather than traveling through you, keeping your body safely out of the circuit. And that brings us to the actual colors of power. The highly pressurized red live wire bringing the energy in, the black neutral wire completing the circuit back out, and that critical green earth wire acting as your silent guardian. We've traced an incredible journey today,
From Hans Christian Ørsted watching a tiny compass needle twitch by accident in 1820, all the way to the precise green-sheathed earthwire protecting your family's appliances right now. It's a lot to process. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you plug something into the wall, how will you look at that hidden, invisible power flowing silently all around you? Class dismissed.